Productivity is not about doing more, it's about doing what really matters. What is up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about the best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I am one of the hosts, Willie Blake. Wow, I can't believe I almost forgot my own name with that. And
I know who you are.
Yeah, I'm glad you know who I am. Here with my co-host, Mr. Ian Sturmer. And today we're continuing in the awesome book of High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. And we've gone through some great stuff, from energy to clarity to necessity. Today we're jumping into another one of those 6 habits, which is productivity. Now, productivity is very interesting because it really comes down to, and we can start the discussion off with this. Productivity is different depending on the person, because what is productive to one person isn't productive to another. But in the same realm, whatever is most important and of a necessity to do is productive. I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'll just throw it over to Ian right now while I try to catch up on the thought.
Yeah. So I think we were talking in the green room before. I think productivity, I broke down into 2 sides of it. One is initiative, or you got to do some work. If you're not doing anything, you're never going to get anywhere. So you have to produce something. And the other side of it is effectiveness. How effective is the work you're doing? Now, somebody wise said once, and I forget who it was, if you remember, busy is the opposite of productive. So
Sure.
Just filling your schedule doesn't mean you're actually going to be productive. It just means you're busy and probably not able to do the things that you should, the most important things that you mentioned in the quote. But let me start off with the initiative side. You got to take an initiative if you're going to do something. You can have a great mindset. You can have positive attitude. You can write out your goals. You can make your business plan. But if you don't knock on that first door or make that first phone call or draw that first whatever drawing you do, if you're not out there doing something, then it's all useless. I make a joke a lot of times that exercise, I've heard, is 80% mental. And that 80% I've got down just fine. It's just that other 20% of physically doing things that I struggle with. If you don't exercise, you don't hit the gym, it doesn't matter how good your mindset is. So I think that first step of productivity is, are you doing something? Are you actually there doing the work that you're hoping to get paid for? And if you're not there, nothing's going to happen. So I'll turn it back to you for that first step, the initiative, excuse me, getting the work out.
Yeah.
And actually doing something.
Yeah. You got to do something. Like, that's like productivity isn't a passive word. It's an active verb. Would that be the right word to use? Active word.
Verb.
Yeah. It's an active verb. It's something of which cannot occur unless something is in movement, which that movement is put together with the necessity and clarity and energy that are the other 3 habits before Brendon Burchard jumps into the productivity. I actually have, something I use of Brendon's is his high performance planner in here. And one of my favorite things in here that he does, actually there's a few favorite things, but at the end of each week, he has this list. It's called the weekly review. of where you can't really see it. Boom, boom. For those who have video can kind of see it. But it's labeled 1 to 5, and there's about 5 questions per each. And the goal is trying to eventually get to like 100%, feeling like everything's great. For productivity, here are the 5 things. They're not questions. 5 things that to rate on 1 to 5. And for you as champions, I want you to rate yourself and see if you've been productive based off of these. So we got, I worked on things that mattered most today. 1 to 5. I progressed a major dream or goal today. I avoided distractions well today. I set intentions before each major activity today. I fully engaged and enjoyed my efforts today. So with those 5, rate it through 1 through 5. And I can tell you just on that list, like, worked on things that mattered most. We're here. These are the things that mattered most. I'd rate and get high. And progress towards a major dream, of course, and setting intentions, yes. But 2 of them that I get caught up on usually consistently is distractions, and then am I fully engaged and enjoyed the day. A lot of the times we don't talk about productivity as like enjoyment. We're like, it's just stuff that needs to get done. It's the hard stuff, and we're just going to keep pushing forward and grind, just like Gary Vee says. But we need to be enjoying it. If it's not enjoyable, is it really productive? That might be a question to, rhetorical or not, ask everyone that's listening here.
Well, I'm going to answer part of that.
Yeah.
If it's not enjoyable, first of all, why is that your industry? Why are you doing that? If you're not enjoying what you do. And the second part of that is, yes, there's tasks that are part of our job that we just don't like to do. I had a friend that was a bookkeeper, and she said that she was great at keeping all of her clients' books completely up to date, but her personal one was about 3 months behind. Because it's hard to do your own. But I guess this is where a mindset idea comes in. If there's a task that you don't enjoy, can you reframe that into a way to remind you of the importance? I've done life insurance in the past, and I hate making cold calls and phone lists and all those things. But by the same token, when I pick up that phone and call somebody, I might sell them a policy, and then in a worst case scenario, when they die or their loved one dies, and in the middle of all of the grief and pain that's going on, I come in as literally the only positive thing that they have at that point. Now, of course, money doesn't take the place of a loved one, but the worst thing is, or the last thing you want in the middle of that grief is to not know where your next rent or mortgage check is coming from. So if I can take away that stress. So long story short with that, if there's tasks you don't like, can you reframe them and say, this task is going to allow me X, Y, and Z. I hate website design, but when my website is up, that's going to increase, how I look. It's going to make me look better. It's going to bring me business. It's going to be a sense of pride when it's done. So can we reframe those things we don't like, the hard tasks, into the benefit that we're getting from them? And then it's not quite as hard to do them. And I guess on top of that, whistle while you work. I think that Snow White movie is coming back again now. So put yourself in the best frame of mind. Have a candy bar before or after your task that you don't like. Give yourself a reward for it. Build a positive around that negative side that you struggle with.
Yeah, there's I've been a part of many accountability groups, and all of them do something different, but the commonalities that are in each are someone else is there to help you be accountable, and then being consistent with what you're doing. And that's it. No matter the amount you're being consistent with, whether it's massive action or just like one thing a day, It's the consistency over and over again that gets you the result that you want. And what I enjoy in one of the groups that I'm in is that how she sets it up is we have the quarter goal that we're aiming for, and then from that we have the thing that we're going to be doing that week, and then from that week we come out with daily actions that need to get done. And with those daily actions, we also attach to them a reward and a consequence. The reward is if I did everything that I said I was going to do throughout the whole entire week, then I reward myself at the end of the week with X, Y, and Z. The consequence is if I fail to do something that day of what I was saying I'm going to do, then you enact the consequence. And I'll give an example because I did not do something this week, so it enacted a consequence for me. So the thing is,
boo.
I know, terrible, right? And it was such automatic. So my thing this week was to basically be off social media, except for business stuff. It was to reset the dopamine hormones and everything inside. So it was just like no audio, just basically be in silence unless it's like working stuff. And yesterday I was cleaning up the house and I turned on an Audible for 15 minutes. I said, I want to do this to be able to prepare for the book club today. That 15 minutes then turned into 30 minutes, which I still felt like I honored my goal. I still felt it was fine. But then automatically jumping from I'm finished with the audio, now what's next? I jumped over to YouTube and started listening to some videos from there. 2 hours went by. My wife comes in and she sees the video just on the side while I'm packing boxes because we're moving in a little bit. And she says, wasn't your goal this week to not be watching videos? And Ian, I got to tell you, I was making all the excuses in the book to basically say that I was still honoring my goal. I was like, oh no, it was an accident. No, it's like I was just listening to it. I wasn't watching it, so I was still doing it. It didn't affect the dopamine in me, and so many different things came out. And then after about 5 minutes, I accepted my fate, which the consequence for me breaking the thing that I was going to do was waxing my chest. So my wife ordered wax strips, and I have a speech on Tuesday, so I don't want anything to interfere between now and then. But after Tuesday, my wife gets to wax my chest. And
next week when we're on video.
Next week we're on video, I'm gonna rip my shirt off, and it's just gonna be bare naked chest. No. But whatever happens, I'll send the video out to anyone who finds my social media. You'll see the video on there. But it comes back to like when it comes to this productivity side of doing stuff, you also got to have integrity with it. Like if we're talking about rewards and consequences, if you do the stuff you are going to do, reward yourself at the end. Give yourself a treat, whether that's an actual treat of ice cream or cookies or whatever, or going out and hanging out with friends, or gaming for an hour or two, or whatever that is for you. Reward yourself so that in your mind, it's consciously being like, oh, I do the things I said and I get rewarded for it. I like this. I'm going to keep doing it. And then on the other side, if you don't do what you're going to say, have the integrity to enact your consequence, because then you're also training your brain of, oh, I didn't do what I said. I have to wax my chest. I'm not going to do that again. That was a long spurt of saying, go productivity.
Yeah. So I was actually making some notes here as you were talking. And before you gave that story, I remember a few months ago, you were on here, and I forget if this before or you said it on here, that you were really concerned because your productivity or your thing, whatever you call that thing you said, if you don't do it, your punishment was shaving your eyebrows. And you were really concerned because you did not want to shave your eyebrows, and that kind of forced you into it. And I think sometimes productivity needs that. We need to have something to force us to do the hard stuff, whether it's avoiding something we should be, whether it's, look at any of the smoking cessation courses and plans, and there's rewards and punishments built in. And I think until we can really internalize our desires and our goals and our productivity, we need those helps to get us through. We need to have that something to get us to take the initiative. I know in my case, I oftentimes am so worried about failing at something that I'd rather not start, because then I don't have to worry about failing. So what I need to do, and when you say I need to, that means you're really saying, I know I should do this, but I'm not going to. But what I need to do is that same thing, set up reward and punishment for the ones that I know I want something, but I just need to have a reward or a punishment greater than that fear of failure at the end. And I think that's the start of all motivation, is we need to have a desire which is greater than the fear. And whether it's internally for the thing that we're doing, or it's bringing an external thing like waxing your chest or shaving your eyebrows, or being able to play a game for an hour or 2 hours or whatever that happens to be. So I think that initiative, that getting started, is the hardest part. It's like rolling a stone up a hill. Once you get it moving, it's so much easier. Maybe not up a hill, rolling a stone on a flat area. How's that? 90% of the effort is the first inch that you get on it. Then it starts moving on its own. So productivity, what can we do to get that first inch going?
I think it's a good thing. I'm thinking of 75 hard, which I know a lot of people have heard of. I haven't done it yet myself, but I've seen a lot of people do it. And I think John, the founder of Champion Circle, has done it. I'm thinking about that. And they also have rewards and consequences, to where you get rewarded by, I think, posting every single day an image of you or something you've done or something with that. And then there's the consequence of, if you don't do it, then you have to hard reset back to day one. And I'm just, and that could be a consequence for some people. So I think it's crazy when it comes to, as we're talking about rewards and consequences, as we're talking about productivity and it being an action word and everything. I think that as us humans, we think, I'm jumping back to the busy. We think that things have to be so busy, so full, that our calendars have to be time blocked every single second, that we don't have time to truly be intentional. Like, can we be intentional if every single moment is planned? I don't think so, because a lot of things that matter a lot are the things that are unplanned. And so one thing that I love in Brendon Burchard's high performance journal is you focus on three priorities each day. You have the things you need to do, but the things that move the needle, the things with the 80-20 rule, the 20% of the actions that get 80% of the results, you just focus on three things. And if you do those three things, your day's a success. And I don't get to choose it. Ian doesn't get to choose it, but you get to choose it. You choose what your three priorities are. And if that's doing one push-up, reading for 5 minutes, and maybe doing like a 2 jumping jacks or that can be productive to you. And so when we talk about this principle, I'm not trying to wrap up all these topics. It's just flowing together in my head because these are just so great. It's the side of when we combine intentionality with desire is when we truly become productive.
I've been wanting to do one of those truth bombs. For those of you who are only on audio, we have a little explosion with a truth bomb. So say that one again, what you just said, Willie.
Bob.
I know, I was going to re-quote it. I couldn't remember the wording.
Intentionality combined with desire is productivity. I said it in a different way, but I think
Okay.
that's
But I think that's it. If you truly desire something, you're gonna go do it. If you're not doing it, that pretty much means you don't really desire it. There's a quote I heard a while ago that you never hear a crackhead say, I ain't got no money, not getting high today. They will find a way to get the money so they can get high. So are you going to get out hustled by a crackhead? Yeah. But bad example of that. But if there is that strong enough desire, then you're going to take the actions. You're going to do that. So to be productive, maybe that question is, do you have that strong desire? And you build that desire, and then you intentionally act upon that, and you become productive. You have no choice but to be productive when you truly, truly want something, and you truly see those actions needed to get there. You intentionally are taking those steps. You can't help but be productive. You have to be. I had a bunch of other things to say, and then I went on that little path because I think that was a better one. But desire. I think it was Tony Robbins who had desire plus passion is the fuel in your rocket. That's what moves you forward. And then I know we're kind of at the end of that, but I guess once you're moving forward, the next question is, what direction are you moving? That's the other half of productivity. And you're saying, busy is the opposite of productive. Are you filling your life with all sorts of things, or are you intentionally choosing the things that are going to move you in the direction you want to go? And that's, as I have my stories, the old story of the guy who's pulled over on the freeway for going way too fast. And the officer says, well, where are you going, sir? He goes, well, I don't know, but I sure am getting there fast. Doesn't matter how busy you are if you're not building that intentionality, that direction for where you want to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're right on the money. When you direction, one of the most important things with productivity. If you are hustling, you are grinding, you are working, and you don't know where you're going, that's wasted effort. That's wasted energy. Because why? Why do it? But if you have a vision, if you have a dream, your goal, the finish line, your northern star, whatever that is, if you know exactly what that is, then even the smallest of efforts will outbeat a hustler with no direction, because you're going toward where you want to go. It's like if you're in the middle of the ocean and you're trying to, let's say you're in the Pacific Ocean and you're trying to get to America, and you are just like, I'm going to paddle as hard as I can and I'm going to get there. Well, if you're not pointed in the right direction, you're just going to continue going in circles or land somewhere else. Maybe you might land in America, but chances are that you won't. And so all the energy that you put in and all the time that you put in, which is the resource we never get back, is gone. And sadly, I'm thinking of someone specific. I was talking to him a couple weeks back, older gentleman up in his 70s, and I was talking to him about his life and like, did he have any regrets and what his story was, and he said something along the lines of what we're talking about, which was, I wish I didn't wait till I was 40 to slow down enough so that I can actually go the right direction. And I'm like, dang. How many of us are going so fast that we don't slow down and start finding stuff out about ourselves?
Definitely true. May not be productivity, but life is a journey, not a destination. And I think when you realize life is a journey, then the destination becomes the actual journey. And I think that really ties back even in the business sense, what we started out with, that if your goal is only to sell, to earn $1 million a year in your sales, well, if that's your goal and that's all you care about, you're probably going to be miserable with what you have to do to get there. But if in the meantime, you realize that your love of this is, in your case, it's meeting with your clients. It's building those relationships. It's seeing how you're helping someone else. If you're a painter, it's seeing the act of creating. If you're a bricklayer, it's the act of again, creating and building something. If you don't take time to love the actions required in your job, then you're going to be miserable. And it's going to be impossible to be productive by hating what you're doing with some dream of an end goal. How often do we see that in popular culture, if not within our own circle of friends? The person who works so hard, gives up their family time, gives up everything to earn money with the idea that that'll make them happy, and they realize they're miserable in the end. Not even miserable in the end, miserable the whole time, the beginning, middle, and end, because their productivity was not based on what they wanted, their desires. They didn't have that intentionality of, I've gone off of productivity here, sorry, into loving what you do and desire and all of those things. But you've got to find that love of what you're doing. And that'll get you through the hard parts, but love that journey and you'll be more productive. One of my favorite examples of that is Lance Armstrong. And for longtime listeners, you probably heard me say this at least a dozen times so far, but when he retired, he was asked what he would miss most about cycling, about the racing. And he said the practices, because he grew to love the practice, not just crossing the finish line, not the endorsements or the prize money. I'm sure those were all nice for him, but he loves the practice. He loves the effort putting into it, because that's where he saw the changes. That's where he saw his growth. And we need to do that in our lives. We will be more productive if we learn to love the process we're going through.
It's true. As we move forward, let us love what we do a little bit more. Love the actions, love the passion, and especially love the journey, because the journey is the destination. That wraps up another episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in this episode, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll be able to find the link to our podcast, link to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be awesome. Continue to move forward in the way of productivity in your life. And always remember that the destination is the journey. Enjoy the journey, continue to be productive, and make the best of it. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.
Thank you.